Okay, let's take a quiz over what you've learned today. So, question number 1. Which of the following represents the greatest source of water? Would it be the water that's in lakes, the water that's in rivers, the water that's in groundwater, or the water that's in the atmosphere? And the answer is groundwater. Question number 2. The shape of the water table is a subdued replica of the surface topography. That is true. Now, under certain circumstances, the water table might have a different shape depending on the geological structures that are underneath it. But in general, it's if you have a hill like this, then the water table is going to make a subdued version of the hill. Question number 3. A measure of a material's ability to transmit groundwater through interconnected pore spaces is going to be its permeability. So permeability is the ability for groundwater to be moved from one place to another. Question 4, this is a measure of the amount of groundwater that can be stored by a rock or sediment, and that is porosity. Number 5, hill number 1 is 100 feet tall and extends 500 feet horizontally. Hill number 2 is 200 feet tall and extends 2,000 feet horizontally. Which hill has the greater slope? Okay, so our definition of slope was the letter S, and it was going to be basically rise over run. So it's going to be the height, H, divided by the distance that it flows sideways, which we could say is the letter Y. So slope for hill number 1 would be equal to 100 and then divided by 500, which is going to be 0.2. And then the slope for hill number 2 is going to be 200 feet tall, and then divided by its sideways part, which is going to be 2,000. And so that's going to be 0.1. So the steeper one is going to be the bigger one. So that would be hill number 1. Question number 6. The steeper the slope, the faster or the slower water is going to flow underground. And it's just like a river, so the steeper the slope, the faster it's going to flow. Number 7. The acid which dissolves caves comes from the mixing of water with carbon dioxide, so it makes carbonic acid. Question number 8. The dissolving of limestone to make a cave occurs above or below the water table. So most of the time it's going to take place below the water table. Number 9. The following picture shows a water table before heavy pumping by the middle well. What will it look like during heavy pumping? Okay, so in this case here, here's the surface of the ground way up here, and now let's say that there's a well that's here, and you can see that the water table, which used to be like this, is sloping a little bit in order to go into that well. Then you've also got, here's the new well that is extending way down into the water table, and then over here again you got another little well, and you can see that it also is causing a little cone of depression of the water table that goes around it. But this well is being used to irrigate this land over here, and then this is the proposed one that is going to go a lot deeper into the ground. So what's going to happen when they turn it on? So the water table is going to drop down like this, and so it's going to make a gigantic cone of depression. And then what's going to happen is, yes, water is going to be irrigating this land over here, but this well is going to go dry, and then this well over here is going to go dry. So what could you do? Well, there's two things. One is tell this person not to be drawing as much water through their well. Okay, or you could sink this one further down, which is going to cost a lot of money, and you can sink this one further down, but that's not really going to help in the long run, because as these are pumping water out, eventually this water table is going to continue to drop as a result of that. So that there's only a limited amount of water that is under the ground and that you can pump out. Then question number 10, name 2 sources of groundwater contamination. So we mentioned septic tanks, we mentioned sewage treatment plants, we mentioned agriculture and the stuff that they're producing. Gas stations. So sometimes a gas station, the gasoline is stored under the ground in these big plastic tanks, but maybe those can rupture, and then gasoline and oil can get into the ground. So these are all places where the groundwater can be polluted. All right, so that's it for today, and so I will see you next time for another exciting lecture about geology. Bye.